Okay, once I have my images all saved to the network drive or your student drive, then what we're going to do is ready to open those up. We're ready to open those up in Premiere. I have Premiere tagged down here on my taskbar. You can find it also here and open this. Might take a minute or so for it to load up. And here we go. Now once this opens, you're going to create a new project. And we're going to title this. I'm going to title this Sample Stop Motion. That's really 2 words, but that's okay. I'm going to make sure it's saving to the right place. So the location, I'm going to put all my assets in the same place. So I know that I'm in my network drive or your student drive. And then I'm going to go to, I have a file for kind of sample projects. So I will go into here and go to sample. And I have Fulton sample already selected. And I'm going to select, make sure that's empty. Yes. And I'm going to select this folder here. And so now I know it's going to be saved. Should something happen to my computer, crashes or whatever, it will still be in my network drive. And click OK. And this pops up, which is typically, I think when you're opening for the first time, it will show up in the learning mode right up here. I'm going to switch over to editing. We're going to learn as we go. And the way that this is set up, you have kind of effects layer or panel. You have a preview panel. You have a timeline panel, and where your media can be found is here. So before we get into that, we want to set up our timeline first. A very specific way we want to set this up. So edit, preferences, timeline. And since we're dealing with still images, I'm going to deal with this right here. Make sure that make sure that this says frame. And then I'm going to change this to 1. Okay. It might take a while for your program to accept 1 as an answer. I'm not sure why, but I've noticed some issues with this in the past. Don't move on from this screen, and it might take several minutes, maybe, to make sure that this does actually show up as and will stay as 1. So when you actually hit 1 on there, click off to the side, and then if it still says 1, then click OK. Make sure it is also set to frames. And then OK. And our timeline is set up now, although we don't see a change just yet. I'm going to go to sequence and create a new item. So when I hover over this area here, it will tell me that I can create a sequence from that. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to change this editing mode to custom. I'm going to change my time base. Now we're dealing with stop motion, and our requirements are typically about 12 frames per second, so I'm going to keep it at 12. Our frame size shows 720 by 480. That can be better, so I'm going to make it 1920 by 1080. And then I'm going to click OK. So now I have a sequence created. It shows the frame rate for that sequence, and I have no media entered into that just yet. To add media, I'm going to go to my media browser area and double click in this empty space. And I'm going to make sure you find that folder where your images are saved. Mine is that Fulton sample. And my images are here. And also notice that this is here as well. This is the project that we are working on now. I'm going to click this top one. I'm going to shift and select the bottom one. And then I'm going to click open. Now all my media, my images show up over here in the media browser. And as I look up and down, I can see everything, all my images, and down here below is my sequence. I think typically yours will show up as this, which is acceptable, but it just takes a while for all of these to load up. So I find it quicker and easier to navigate with the list view. Now, if there's a reason why you need to edit or get rid of one of these files, then that's a good reason to use the icon view instead. But I already made sure that the files that I'm using for this project are all here. So I have all my images here, and what I want to do is shift select them again. And then from somewhere around here where the icon shows, I'm going to click and drag to the timeline. Now I have video 1 layer right here. I'm going to drop it on that video 1 layer. And now it only shows up as this little bitty thing here. I want to zoom into that so I can check these out closer. To do that, use these little handles down at the bottom and drag it. You'll see that all those images start to expand. So I'm going to drag it to there to where I can see all of them. And notice that my images, it doesn't show everything that I want it to show. So what I'm going to do is click and drag over all of them like this. Click and drag a box over all of them so it selects them all. I'm going to right click on them somewhere. And then I'm going to go to scale to frame size. So now my images show up on all of them. So I can see everything showing up as it should here. Now, if I play it, it's going to be kind of choppy, okay? It takes a while once you enter the media in here and set it. It's going to take a while for your computer and Premiere to process all those images. Some people might have shot their video vertically, or some of them, I did not shoot mine vertically, but you notice I still have these black bars on the side. If that's something that bothers you, we will change that as well. And so the way I'm going to do that is to go to my sequence in my media browser over here. So I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says sequence. I'm going to right click on sequence, and I'm going to go to sequence settings. And what I'm going to do is change. I know for a fact that mine will fit better with the dimensions. Instead of 1920, it will fit better with the dimension of 1750. I'm going to leave the vertical scale alone because it's already scaled perfectly, and click OK. Oh, it left a little black on top, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me too much. If it really does bother you, then you can adjust it back and forth. So to go back again, I can say, hey, that kind of does bother me, so I'll go, let's try 1775. 1775 seems to work pretty good. There's a little tiny black edge, but that doesn't bother me too much. But now my media fits perfectly in there, and notice it's still choppy. It's going to take some time for Premiere to really catch up with what you've added in there and how you've changed it. Other things that can make playback a little bit better is changing the playback resolution. And so I've really knocked it down from full to quarter, because honestly, these computers sometimes need all the help they can get when it comes to playing back our video sequences. So now you can see with a little bit of time, it's still a little choppy towards the end, so it still needs some time. All right, so I'm pretty much set up now. I have my images all lined up in correct order. I have a sequence set at 12 frames per second, and I have resized my image to fit the frame and adjusted the frame to fit the image. Next step will be to export this as a video.